Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Irish Sports Daily Morning After Recap Show, brought to you by irishsportsdaily.com. I'm your host, Ge Flammang, and we're here the morning after Notre Dame wins 31-13 against Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Good performance. Let's mark it down as a good performance. Anytime you win by multiple touchdowns, you're going to take that. I think the second half offense left a lot of people wanting, but listen, you get out of there with after a slow start where you go down 7-0, come away with the victory. Fairly comfortable, even if unsatisfying. You'll take that. Notre Dame moves to 6-1. They've got Navy coming up, who is undefeated and ranked, and Army is ranked as well. And that'll probably change. That'll probably stay the same until Notre Dame meets them in November in New York. So that's what Notre Dame's got coming up. Notre Dame seems to have come out of the game fairly unscathed injury-wise. We will monitor that situation because things are just popping up every now and then. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some comments in the chat that are already going off. CFB Hertz is here as well. So we can talk about all those things. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear today, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we're going to go live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing. The holiday season is approaching fast with ESQ has you covered for all your parties and gifting. Founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang, you've seen ESQ on all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches. With over a decade of making the best custom clothing available, ESQ will help you look and feel your best, from a perfect fitting suit or sport coat, shirt, or bomber jacket, or the perfect tuxedo for galas and holiday events. Check out Ge's amazing work at esqclothing.com. Book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD and get 10% off your entire purchase. Give yourself and your loved ones the gift of style. Let's see. CFB Hertz with a fun tidbit from the Reddit folks. Of the 8 traditional blue bloods, only your Fighting Irish came away victorious. OSU was on a bye, and the other 6 lost. So let's see. USC, Alabama, Michigan. Who else am I missing? Oklahoma is probably one. That's 4. Let's see. Michigan, Nebraska, Texas. Yeah. There you go. That's fun. Now listen, anytime USC and Michigan lose on the same day, which has happened multiple times this year, that's a good time. That's a very good time. Love watching those teams go down. They're struggle busing. USC is struggle busing, man. They're losing close, but it's 3-4 now. Very curious about what's going to happen. They still have Nebraska. They still have Washington. Obviously UCLA and Notre Dame. So that's interesting. Jacob Paulus, 2 weeks in a row that I called my shot and got it right. Said earlier this week on Hit and Hustle that Leonard would pass for over 200 yards in back-to-back weeks for the first time this season. Yes, he did go over 200. I think he ended up with 203, if I recall correctly. And look, that's the prop hits on that sort of thing. So, yeah, he's got 203 yards. Obviously the interception was not good. We talked about it on the post-game show. Not a good pick to throw. I put on Twitter that it was a bad route by Bo Collins, which it was, but that's not the look you want on that play, right? They're running a post in cover 3. There's no other, they're kind of high-lowing, but not really, right? Like the in route was late. That ball's got to get thrown in the dirt somewhere, or check down or run or whatever it might be. It's just not available. You won't call that pass play against that coverage and expect you're going to hit that post. It can't ever get thrown. As soon as he sees the defense, he can't ever throw it. But he did throw it, and that's not a good decision. And so, that ended up in an interception. After that, he was playing great. He was on time. He was hitting the right player. They were doing the short stuff again. But he was making the throws that he needed to make. He was 13 of 14 after that interception. The one incompletion on that was a back shoulder to Bo Collins, which I thought was a good throw. I thought it was a play that Bo Collins needs to make, right? We see it around college football, wide receivers making a play on that kind of a back shoulder throw. I thought he threw open Jaden Greathouse on a slot fade, so that was a good play by him. Threw it short. Jaden Greathouse, the way they ran the route, if he led him, he's going to lead him out of bounds. He threw it short. Jaden Greathouse went up and caught it. I thought he made a good play there. Everything was rolling. And then, it all kind of stopped, right? And I think that was the frustrating thing. It looked like Notre Dame was getting ready to absolutely blow the game open. And then everything kind of stalled. I thought Riley Leonard, he got out of rhythm. I thought Mike Denbrock got out of rhythm in terms of, having a feel for the team and what was going to work and the types of plays they could run that could affect Georgia Tech. I thought it all just kind of stalled, and it was strange. We haven't seen that this year, where we've seen them stall on offense at the beginning and never really catch their footing. We've seen that a couple of times. Usually once Notre Dame gets a feel for the defense and they start to feel confident and they're moving the ball, usually that just continues. We haven't seen Notre Dame completely stall out like that. So that was unsatisfying, to say the least. So that's something we're going to have to monitor going forward, whether a defense found something, whether Georgia Tech found something that Notre Dame was doing that they could exploit, that they could take away. We're going to have to keep track of that. Sergio says probably won't move up polls today. I feel like they could, right? Why wouldn't they? Bama loses twice, so that they got a drop. I feel like Iowa State. This thing. Listen, you're struggling, but they haven't. Look, Notre Dame has beaten Texas A&M, who is much better than any team that. Like Iowa State's best win is Iowa, right? That's yucky. That's yucky stinky, right? Iowa got dominated by Michigan State yesterday. They're not a good football team. I just think they got to jump that team. The posters, I understand they're undefeated, and good job by them on that. But if you haven't beaten anybody good, then why do you need to be ranked up high? Texas A&M's leading the SEC right now. You have a victory on the road against the SEC leader. Let's go. Bump them up. I say put them in the top 10. That's where I'm at. But we'll monitor, Sergio. I'm not saying you're wrong about that. Sergio says Iowa State and BYU are not top 20 teams. They're not. Michael Redinger. Thank you for being here, Michael. Appreciate your contributions. Offense moving in the right direction. Line getting more consistent. Increased diversity in play calling. Riley looking more comfortable. Love is a baller. Evans getting healthy and more involved. Yeah, Evans had he had 51 snaps yesterday. I feel like that's his most. Let's check it, Michael. I feel like, yeah, he had 51 snaps, which was the top of anyone, like any non-offensive line in Riley Leonard. Right. So let's see. He had, definitely his most. Only 25 against Stanford. 46 was his next highest against Louisville. So 51 for Mitchell Evans. So he is getting more involved, to your point. That's a good comment. You know what, though? I thought part of the reason that Notre Dame struggled in that second half is the offensive line is just not ready to be consistent enough to allow them to, continue to roll teams. I thought the offensive line had some pretty poor reps in the running game specifically. I thought the passing game, they started to give up some pressures as well. So I thought they were clean early. And then over time, I thought they were just, Georgia Tech was getting home far too often, or getting pressure far too often. And that was hurting them. So I think that's the thing with the line. But look, I think we have to be understanding of that, right? It's not going to be a great offensive line this year in terms of consistency. I think they're going to have moments, but they're also going to be moments where they're struggling. I think that's what we saw yesterday for the most part, and it kind of limited what they wanted to do. Jacob Paulus says your preseason prediction of Riley at USC looks better and better each week. Yeah, I said, way back in March, April, I thought this would be Riley's last year at USC. More monitoring. I mean, they're 3-4. They could lose again. I mean, you've lost to Maryland and you've lost to Minnesota. They're ripe to lose another time, right? There's no reason that they couldn't lose to Rutgers. They play short week this week. They play Friday night. And I mean, I got to tell you, there might be 30,000 people in the stadium. It's going to be, it's going to be really dead in there at the Coliseum. If people aren't, especially if like the Dodgers, I don't know what their schedule is, but if the Dodgers are in the World Series at this point, the Lakers are starting, I think, on Tuesday. The basketball season starts. There's just too many things to do in LA. People aren't going to take time on their Friday night to go to see USC play Rutgers. They're just not. So it's gonna get dark. Peter H asking, how was Hans Zimmer last week? Thank you for asking, Peter. It was phenomenal. It was great. I took my son. He's 7. I took him to see it. He lasted. So it was a very long show, which is fine, obviously. But it started at 8 p.m. Pacific. It went till 11:30, and he lasted until 10:30. So he fell asleep in the thing. He just ran out of gas. But it was awesome. He's great. I mean, Hans Zimmer is the man. Just incredible performance. He's if you're a fan of him, you love that stuff. Michael Redinger says, going to need the offense to pick up the slack as the defensive depth gets thinner. Yeah, I mean, they definitely have to be complimentary. Listen, there will be a game this year when the offense has to bail out the defense. It will happen at one point. I don't know against who. Obviously, you could say Navy, you could say Army, or whoever. At some point, it always kind of happens where the offense has to be the reason that you win, and the defense is going to have a poor game for whatever reason. And that's just going to happen. Look they did the thing that they had to do to support the defense yesterday, right? They went out in there, they scored the points that they needed to. They scored in 3 straight possessions after the first 2 were empty, push it to a multiple touchdown game. And once you're up by multiple touchdowns against Georgia Tech with their backup quarterback, who was game, credit to Pyron, he played really well. He was game yesterday, but it's going to be too much against the type of defense that Notre Dame plays and the way that they play defensively. So that's a good point, right? They do need to pick up the slack. You can't completely stall out, and they didn't, right? They did a good job, for the most part. It was just that second half that things really slowed down for them. Robert Halicki says, a little late, but I made it. Feels like there was a lot of growth. I'm impressed with the amount of depth this team has and how they overcome the injuries. Yeah, obviously Leonard Moore stepping in for Ben Morrison. He played a really good football game yesterday. He's a good football player. I mean, we're to the point now where all the little things that he does, his physicality, the way that he is able to just step in and do everything that they're asking him to do, that fits in line with what the defense wants to be. They don't have to change the whole defense to accommodate him. I think that's great. He's physical. He's sticky. He gets in phase. He's like there's not an athleticism question with him. He can run with receivers down the field. I'm super high on him. I mean, he doesn't have any kind of fear, right? Especially in like the running game, the tackling game. Like he's much more physical than Ben Morrison had been playing this year. Obviously the in route that they gave up where Xavier Watts missed a tackle over the top and it led to a long one. Rod Hurd had to chase down the wide receiver that led to a blocked field goal for Georgia Tech. So it didn't end up hurting them on the drive, but that's a play where he gives too much of the inside away, even though like Rod Hurd is supposed to be the inside help there. I think Rod Hurd jumps it a little bit. Leonard Moore comes in. He kind of tries to make a diving play on it. It's one of those things where it's like, look, if you're going to come in and dive, you got to make sure you're in touch with the wide receiver, because if you miss, he's running free, right? So you don't want that. But beyond that, they tried him on a deep ball, didn't work. They tried him on a 3rd and short, didn't work, right? He had a couple breakups on the game, so led the team, or he was second on the team in tackles with 7. Played a really good football game. So there's that piece. Obviously, the offensive line, right? There's the depth there. They've had that throughout the season. They've got a lot of depth at linebacker at this point. The defensive line, the way that Junior Tulialamaka is playing, the way that Josh Burnham is playing. Now we're starting to see Riley Mills and Howard Cross really assert themselves. Mills specifically, over the last 2 weeks, 11 total quarterback pressures. That will get it done. Okay, that will get it done for Notre Dame. And that is the type of thing that can kind of change, the defense is playing really well. If those two guys can get to be dominant, because they haven't been dominant, especially early in the year. It just wasn't. They were good players, but they weren't dominating. If they can start to turn the tide and be dominant, now you're starting to see like this is going to be a real problem for teams. Kind of going forward. We'll see how that plays out against Army and Navy, but it's something. CFP Hurt says Notre Dame will get jumped by BYU. Maybe. I mean, they haven't beaten anybody. At some point, you can't have them jump just because they're beating a bunch of poor teams. Jacob Paula says, how about Georgia Tech going to that meaningless touchdown at the end of the game and getting their backup quarterback killed? Starter is already hurt. What are you doing? Yeah, I didn't. Like, what if Haynes King can't play? What if he can't play? And you have Pyron, he can't hold his arm. He's holding his like I thought it was irresponsible from a team standpoint. Georgia Tech still has a lot to play for in the ACC. It's not like they don't. So I thought that was just borderline irresponsible from Brent Key, the coach. You want to be tough, and I get it. You want to show fight and all those other things. Like I'm fine, no problem. I just felt like that was just kind of not cool, right? I mean, he could be and look, maybe he has some information on Haynes King. He knows he's going to play or whatever. I just thought he was being irresponsible with it. But whatever. I mean, maybe everyone was on board, right? That's up to their team and how they feel about things and their players and their coaches. So, Michael Hahn says, 2 examples of AP voters are Adam Zucker and Reese Davis. A few weeks ago, neither had Notre Dame in their ballot, and last week both had Notre Dame lower than Notre Dame's 12th position in the overall poll. Yeah, I just don't see I don't see how you can look. I understand the NIU loss is bad, right? I get it, but there's also the rest of the year where you can see like, okay, that's an aberration. It's not a reflection of the type of team that they are. Okay, every team they've beaten is better than NIU. The Texas A&M, like again, you were beating that Notre Dame beat the leaders in the SEC on the road. I don't care about this. People are always going to say, "Well, week 1, it's like it doesn't matter." Why? I don't understand why that matters. Texas A&M was as healthy as they are going to be in week 1. They had their quarterback. They had all their players, right? Notre Dame had all their players, right? Notre Dame's going through injuries. Everyone's going through injuries. Everyone was healthy in week 1. Notre Dame wins the game. Wins the game convincingly. So I just don't like this whole the NIU game like eliminates Notre Dame. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. Like I can't. I'm not with that. Like you got to be a grown up. Be a big boy and call it like you see it. Rob Wozniak says we're not talking about Navy enough. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about them plenty. I mean, we'll talk about them a lot this week since Notre Dame's playing them. Look, they're good, right? I don't think there's any sugarcoating it. They're a good team. They're good on offense. They are better than I ever remember them being on offense, and that even goes back to like the Keenan Reynolds, the Malcolm Perry time of like 2015 and 2019. Those were the best teams that they had. They're throwing the ball as well as any team in like college football, really. I mean, let's go look at the quarterback, Blake Horvath. Let's just look at his passing numbers. Blake Horvath, 46 of 72, 880 yards, 12.3 yards per attempt. He has a 210 passer rating. So, like, this is why I say they're throwing it as well as any team in college football. Obviously, they don't throw it as much, but he's 12.3 yards per attempt, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. His passer rating is 210. Let me see here. Let's look at the passer rating. Let's just go by passer rating. He must not have enough attempts. He doesn't have enough attempts to get into the passer rating leaders. That's ridiculous for CFB stats. He's not on here, but he would be. Like, so the top quarterback in football in terms of passer rating is Curtis Rourke of Indiana with a 188.71. Blake Horvath is at 210, right? So that just goes to show, right? Blake Horvath is at 210.54. He's leading the NCAA in passer rating at this point. He's good. He's good. Their defense isn't very good. They give up a lot of points, and they haven't played anyone anywhere near as good as Notre Dame. Not even close, right? So that's a factor, right? Their best win is against Memphis, who is 6-1. So that's their only loss. Of course, Memphis hasn't played anybody either. Their best win after this, I guess, is Florida State, right? They're stinky smelly. So, listen, they scored 44 points against Navy, 20 against Florida State, 24, 21. And they got 52 against North Texas. So, look, Navy hasn't played anyone this year, right? So that's something to factor in. So that look, there's going to be a physicality to Notre Dame, the way that they play. Obviously, it's going to be tricky with playing Navy's offense. But like, listen, anytime Notre Dame is playing Navy and their antennas are up, I like that situation for Notre Dame. Could absolutely lose. If you get a bunch of empty possessions, if you have a bunch of empty possessions like you did in this game, that could lead to a loss. So, listen, you got to be efficient on Saturday. You have to be efficient. You have to take advantage of your situations. Matt Boer says, I was watching Snead on one play and he was not even watching the play. He was looking at a defender the whole time. I was like, what is this kid doing? Snead lacks instincts big time. Yeah, I don't know specifically what play you're talking about here. It's been the issue. I think the thing with Snead, we talked about it before, they're just really good players ahead of him. Drake Bowen's playing as well as he's played. He is himself is ascending. Jaden Osbury obviously makes a really good tackle in the open field yesterday. And Jack Kaiser's playing well, right? He's second on the team in tackles. And then obviously you got KVA, who's a budding superstar. So he's in a tough spot where his mistakes are just so much more magnified because the other guys aren't making those errors and they're playing really good football. That's the bad part for him. It's a good thing for Notre Dame. You want that depth. You want players who are challenging. If you're going to get on the field, you got to be a high level player. And he's just a little bit more deficient than the rest of them. Jason Warnock says, scary Saturday. Notre Dame on the road at noon is never fun. It seems at a good Navy team and a lot of youth on defense. Yeah, it could be. I mean, look, I don't think people are going to be nervous. People are going to be nervous. No question, right? The noon kickoff. Yeesh. Josh Miller said, Buckner looks slow getting to the edge. He's getting old. Yeah, man. It's tough. It's tough. You get older. I don't know. I think they showed the end zone view. I haven't seen like a sideline view of it. Maybe he was scooting, right? Maybe he was doing that against like some DB or something. Got the first down. Credit to him. Greg Wasserman says IU may lose only one game this year, and then we'll make the playoff over Notre Dame if that happens. To be honest, like what IU does doesn't really matter. Like, because here's the thing. Excuse me. The Big Ten is getting two teams no matter what. They're getting their conference champion, obviously, and whoever plays in the conference championship game is going to make it. I personally don't really care about IU and whoever else is there. It doesn't matter to me. If Notre Dame goes 11-1, they will make it. Okay. That is not a concern of mine. They will make it at 11-1. Okay. It's going to happen. Whether they can host the game or not, I don't know. I'm not going to concern myself with all the machinations of everything and, the string pulling. Just let it play out. If Notre Dame continues to win, they will make it. Okay. Navy's ranked. Army is ranked. And you could say whatever you want about it. The fact is that you have ranked Navy, ranked Army, ranked Texas A&M. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. Thought the media was more concerned with their percentage of making the playoffs. Yeah. That's a good point. It took me a long time. Breaking news: Notre Dame was 63% chance of making the playoffs after a victory. To be honest, it's probably more now that like Bama lost. That probably matters to it. There are some losses in there that matters to Notre Dame. But breaking news, also breaking: Notre Dame does not play in a conference, so it's another thing to keep in mind. Notre Dame not a conference team. Yeah, Army has Jacob Paula says Army hasn't played anyone either. They are both good teams, but let's not pretend that they are world beaters. Yeah, like this is by far the toughest competition that they've played. You know, it's just that they've played some weak defenses, man. And look at I get it. You play a different style of offense. I get it. But it's just there's a physicality to Notre Dame. So we'll see. Jacob Paulus. Bowen was a monster in this game. He was everywhere, ball magnet. He plays with like the kind of force that you want. In that, like he just every play he wants to wreck somebody. There's no free passes with him. He's going to hit you. He's going to hit you hard. I mean, he is the exact type of player that everyone loves, right? Everyone loves a player like him, where he's just he doesn't care. He doesn't question. He will run into like the proverbial run into a burning building and just, go in there and do what you got to do. Like he is just he has the attitude specifically at the linebacker position. He is coming with heat. And listen, he's playing great, right? He is seeing it. He is going to it. He is finishing the play. Let's check out his missed tackle numbers this year. Let's look at Drake Bowen's trajectory, because he's not missing tackles. Yesterday, he had 7 tackles solo, 2 assisted, so that's 9 tackles, 0 missed tackles, 6 stops. 6 stops. So those are essentially failures for the offense, right? If you're running the ball on first down, like 1 or 2 yards, that's a stop, right? 6 of his 9 tackles are stops. So they're quality tackles. This isn't like, 5-6 yards down the field, that sort of thing. He has 1 missed tackle this year, Drake Bowen. 1 missed tackle. Doesn't miss tackles. 2.6 miss percentage, which is elite. You're a linebacker. You're constantly in that position. 1 missed tackle. And he's got 38. That's going to get it done. So Drake Bowen is absolutely ascending. He is ascending. Sergio, how many possessions does Notre Dame get versus Navy? 7, 9. So yesterday, Notre Dame had 4 real possessions in the first half against Georgia Tech. That's how it could be, right? That's exactly how it could be against Navy, where it's like you're just not getting the ball, and you got to be able to score on the limited possessions that you have. It's just not going to. You can't count on. It's like, oh, we're going to keep turning them over. Now they do throw the ball a little bit more, so that stops the clock a little bit. So that's good, right? And I'd have to go back and look, like, how many possessions are teams getting against them? The thing is like usually you're getting more possessions because they're moving the ball on you fairly efficiently, and they're scoring quicker, right? Like the worst thing with Navy and Army to this extent is like the 17, 18 play drives that result in points. Like it's almost better to get scored on quickly so you can get the ball back, right? If you were to give up give up points. So that's the thing. You just have to try to get them off the field quick. You don't want them to burn clock. And then I wrote when I was at UHND, like I think it was the 2019 game. I was like, never punt against Navy. There's no, you got to keep the ball. You can't willingly give up the ball. I feel like your threshold for punting has to be a lot higher against Navy than it is against other teams. You just can't give them the ball back all the time. So that's something they've got to be mindful of, in my opinion. Do, 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 do. Chris Wall says Bowen plays aggressively but in control. Exactly what a linebacker needs. Yeah, absolutely. That's exact. I mean, look, if you're playing the type of style that Drake Bowen is playing and you're not missing tackles, it's the holy grail. I mean, that's what you want, right? You're not missing tackles and you're playing with force. It's everything that you want. Sergio says, even though USC look terrible right now, the game in the Coliseum could still be tough if FC doesn't completely give up and Moss is dealing to his wide receivers. Listen, they are getting better at the wide receiver position. Mekhi Lemon is starting to play really well. Jacoby Lane is playing well. Deuce Robinson is playing well. They can do things. It's not like they can't. Their numbers are good. That's the thing. That the losing is a disgrace, but like they are not a bad they're not a bad like offensive team, right? They're not even a bad defensive team. They just can't get stops when they need them. What I will say is like Notre Dame, like on a yards per play basis, they're better than Notre Dame. I mean, they're better than USC. Notre Dame is 43rd in yards per play this year, 6.2. USC is 46th at 6.19. So essentially 6.2, essentially the same. They're not any different. But it's like the USC is not that explosive team that they have been, right? And they're not that explosive team that they've had or that the Lincoln Riley's had against while he was at Oklahoma. They don't have that explosiveness. And that's part of the problem. They've only scored more than 30 points twice, right? Scored 30 points against 38 against Wisconsin, 48 against Utah State. That's it. After that, they have not scored more than 30 points. I mean, so in points per game, I'll bet you they're similar to Notre Dame in that. Let's see, scoring offense. Points a game. Let's find Notre Dame. They got to be in the 30 something. Notre Dame is 26th in points per game at 34.6. USC is 55th at 30.3. So those two games are basically pushing them over. They're not the scoring team that they have been. They're better defensively, that's true, but the offense is not. They're like a mid defensive team, and they are a kind of a mid offensive team as well. Kirk DA Fitness, thank you for the super chat. We are winning and teams ahead of us losing, but we're going backwards in the polls. Looks like there is a chance we don't make the playoffs. It won't happen. I promise you. If Notre Dame goes 11-1, you beat Navy, you beat Army, you beat Texas A&M, you're getting in. You're getting in. Those teams are ranked. Like Army and Navy are ranked. Okay. It's not like they're playing a bunch of 3 and 6 teams or whatever, right? 2 and 5. They're not playing those teams. Like they will get in. I understand the concern because they keep dropping. It will not continue to happen. Okay. It will be ranked. They will play Army. They will be ranked. Okay. Army's not losing. They're not playing anybody who's good. It's not a concern of mine. It's not a concern. It's kind of like to me, it's kind of like worrying about scholarship numbers. It'll work out. Notre Dame goes 11-1. They're making it. Just full stop. Steve Hogan, thank you very much for the super chat. This is very kind. We will need gamers to win down the stretch. Jeremiah Love decided this year that he was going to be, as Coach McCullough says, about that life. Love his toughness and talent. Yes, Jeremiah Love is absolutely about it. He is about the smoke. He is unbelievable. He is an unbelievable football player. The play that he made, you could throw a guy a check down in the middle of the field and he runs for whatever it was, 25 yards. It's just magic, right? They throw him another check down. He gets hit behind the line of scrimmage. His back is turned. He's at the line of scrimmage. The linebacker is contacting him. His back is turned to the defense. He turns and gets 12 yards. He is a magical football player, just straight up. He is playing. He runs hard. He runs with pace. He runs with urgency. He runs with venom, but then he's also explosive. It's all aspects of the game. I like the part where they split him out too, but they set him in motion, right? So they widened him and then sent him on a route. We're monitoring that throughout the year. That was something that that Stanford did a bunch against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame kind of took that from them. So that's something we're going to keep an eye on because that's really good stuff. And getting him out in space like that, that's those are the things that you want. So thank you for the super chat again, Steve. That's very, very kind of you. Let's see. Josh Miller, what do you think the percentage is for Notre Dame to get in the playoffs? It's a great point. It's a great question. We have breaking news. Notre Dame a 63% chance of making the playoffs. It's a good question by Steve. Thank you for bringing that to the attention of the chat. We haven't really discussed it. Let's see here. We got some more comments. Someone brought Rod Hurd, Sergio. I think Rod Hurd is an important player tackling the lanes versus Army and Navy. Absolutely. Rod Hurd's going to be important. He's played well in the last few since Louisville. He has really stepped his game up as well. Rod Hurd's really coming into his own, which is great. That's great to see as well. I feel like he's a multi-year guy. I think he can play next year as well. He'll be important for Notre Dame. He's a good football player. He's not making mistakes, which is what you really want in the back. He made the chase down play to save points against Georgia Tech. So that's really good by him. He's doing the right things. That's good. I watched from Mark Youngman. I watched the Georgia Tech postgame show. The valuation was the following: Notre Dame had better athletes. They did to Tech what Tech wants to do to their opponents, and Notre Dame beat the crap out of Georgia Tech. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely a fair take. Listen, Notre Dame does have better athletes. I mean, it's tough from a Georgia Tech point of view. You don't have your quarterback. He makes everything work for you. I thought Pyron played well. The interception he threw to Watts is just kind of like, what are you looking at? Like to me, it's worse than the Leonard interception because he's completely covered. Leonard is throwing it to a spot against zone. He thinks that Collins can get there. He's throwing the ball to someone completely covered, right? Can't have that. He had a couple moments where he got flustered by the rush, and that's a tough look for him. But it's just he's just not the caliber of Haynes King. And so that hurts them. They had a linebacker injury as well. So they had a tough time going into it. But that's a fair assessment. It's pretty much what it was. Checky says Notre Dame opened at minus 11.5 on FanDuel, minus 14 on DraftKings. So about a touchdown favorite. Notre Dame super fan. This is good. Top 5 to get healthy or experience. 1, Mitch Jeter. Got to get him healthy. Carson Hobbs, number 2. Jordan Faison, 3. Gerby Lambert, 4. Armel Mukam, 5. I'm going to try to think. I think that's probably good. I mean, Hobbs is going to get some no matter what. Mitch Jeter, what's funny is of all of the consternation about like strength and conditioning with Landau and these injuries, people are mad at him for Ben Morrison. People are mad at him for Strouth and Faison, and people getting rolled up on, which has nothing to do with strength and conditioning. Jeter has a groin. That is strength and conditioning to me. And why does the kicker have a muscle injury? Why does the kicker have a muscle injury? It hurts your groin. You can't have that. A soft tissue for a kicker is completely preventable, unless he hurt it on the fake punt or whatever, or the field goal that got messed up against who was the opponent in that game? Where they had I guess it was Miami, where they messed up the snap and he had to run. If he hurt it on that, then okay. But it's just that sort of thing is preventable. So it's funny to me that people bring it up, but they don't bring up that stuff. Jeff Fluke says if Bowen is hitting against Navy like he was yesterday, someone isn't surviving. I don't know. These Navy's tough kids, but he brings it. He brings it. James says Jeremiah Love can run on water. Monitoring. Sergio says, can we get a Madden Faremo commitment update? Kid has to love watching KVA in the D. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can't I don't know about these linebackers and these recruits. Who knows what he's waiting for? It just seems to me like make your choice. Look, I don't know what else you want from a linebacker's position. You're watching KVA play, you're watching Drake Bowen play, you're watching Osprey play. Do you want that? I would want that. I don't know. I don't understand. But these, I don't know what's going into that decision. Maybe he wants to stay home. Maybe he wants to stay closer, right? Can't get upset about that. Josh Miller, thank you for the super chat. For letting me listen to this podcast instead of my wife telling me what to do at breakfast. Congratulations. Happy to help out in any way that I can. Mark Youngman said, host said if Tech was healthy, it still would have been a loss. Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, probably, right? Notre Dame still would have been favored. Oh my goodness, Michael Lee. Greg, wanted to give you a shout out from the Philippines. I've been keeping up with my Irish. It's 10:41 Sunday here. Question: anything on Jalen Cooper's decision and Notre Dame's chances? Thanks. Thank you, Michael Lee, for the shout out from the Philippines. That's awesome. I think Notre Dame feels good. We're monitoring. I think Notre Dame's pushing hard. I think he had a good visit. And I think we should hear something shortly. I don't have information. This isn't a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. I think Notre Dame, we should hear things shortly on him. But he's I like where Notre Dame sits there. And we got to check out Isaiah Mizell, see what he's got going on. Hey, something I picked up. This is a little, just something on Power Hour. Mike Frank, the Godfather, owner of Irish Sports Daily, he mentioned for some reason Derek Meadows on the show, talking about how that was he had in this discussion. Now, to be honest, he said he was down on Derek Meadows because the thing about Derek Meadows was he wasn't a guy who had a bunch of catches as a junior. He only had like 16 catches or something like that. And we wanted to see more volume. Apparently this year he doesn't have that many catches either. But he kept talking about him. I thought, why is he talking about him? Why? What's going on there? So I think we're monitoring. Let's low key. Let's put it on the back burner. You got the stove. You've got the nice stove. You got 6-burner stove. You got something on the back, right? A little back burner, something simmering back there. Let's put Derek Meadows back there just to simmer, right? Why did he bring it up? As the Windhorse, Brian Windhorse. Why is that? Why did he do that? We're monitoring. We'll keep an eye on that. Maybe it's nothing. It could be nothing. Yeah, CFB hurts. Interesting. LSU's having a good season. Yeah, and LSU needs wideouts. It's not like they have a bunch, in their recruiting class. So, we'll keep an eye on it. I don't know why he brought it up. Why did he bring it up? I don't know, but he did. Mike Frank knows things. He's a knower of things. So I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. I have no clue. Let's see. Any updates on what percentage chance this playoff is with the W yesterday? Not to look too far into the future. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's check it out. 63% chance Notre Dame has. 63% chance. All right. Derek Meadows is Corey Robinson, who gets you 35 catches in 2027. Yeah, maybe. And to be clear about the Derek Meadows thing, I could be completely pontificating, right? Like it could be nothing. I don't even know if it's anything. I probably should have asked them before I said it on this show, but we'll see. Michael Lee says, Greg, will Notre Dame pursue another running back in 2025 or move on to 2026? I haven't heard any names on that. I haven't heard that Notre Dame's pursuing anything there. So that's going to be interesting. I think they're okay to move forward. They obviously like Aeneas Williams. He's playing really well right now. In whatever role they give him, I know they like Kedron Young as well. So look, Jeremiah Love. You have Jeremiah Love, Jabron Payne as well. They want to bring him back. So you have Jeremiah Love, you have Jadarian Price, you have Jabron Payne, you have Kedron Young, you have Aeneas Williams, and then you have Justin Thurman. So that's 6 right there. Like you don't need more than that, right? So, yeah, that's so I don't think so. I don't think they're gonna. I think they're gonna move on to 2026. BG says, "What's your level of concern with Navy?" I mean, pretty concerned, right? Like the just okay. The way that Navy beats you, everyone knows they run clock, they get points, and then you can't match. Like Notre Dame is the type of offense that they can go through dry spells. They can go through 2 or 3 possessions where it's like they're not getting anything. And what do you do if it's 14 nothing at that point? You're down 14 nothing. You go down 14 nothing to Navy, and now every possession is super important. And then they're running clock and everything. The path to losing to Navy is clear. And like it's this specific Notre Dame team is going to be vulnerable to that path against Navy. And so like that is a concern, right? Same thing with Army, frankly. I mean, so they're both kind of the same. Michael Will says 63% chance, 63% level of concern. So that's the thing. You just you get worried about the way that Notre Dame is built, specifically against Navy and Army. That's the thing. Sergio's talking about efficient passing the ball. To be honest, like I like that they're a better passing team. It plays into Notre Dame's strength, which is the pass game. And like whatever moves the ball down the field quicker, that's fine. Get the ball moving down the field. I don't want these 9-minute drives. So that's kind of weird, but I like that they're throwing. Yeah. CFB Hurt says, will they be efficient against RDBs? That's another thing. Like I want them doing the thing that's going to speed up the game. And I want them doing the thing that's a strength for Notre Dame. That's what I want. So that's kind of where I come out on that. Look, they have considerable strengths on offense, no question, more than I've seen in recent memory from them. Usually, it's a really good running game, some passing. They're passing the ball all the time now, and that's a big deal. You want lots of strengths. And you got lots of strengths in VSR Media if you choose that to be your media company. Founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh, VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior, and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Michael Wu says, I'm concerned because every time Notre Dame is highly confident, Notre Dame lays an egg. I mean, it's hard to say every time, right? Because, like, they haven't laid an. They've won 5 straight. It's just like, and the thing is I think if Notre Dame were to lose this game, I don't think anyone would be like super shocked, right? Like, maybe this is a good Navy team, So it's not like we would be thinking to ourselves, like, oh my gosh, like, how did this happen? Like, Navy's good. So I don't think it would be that. I think just, again, it just goes back to matchup, right? The thing that Navy does and the way that they play, Notre Dame is going to be susceptible to that type of team and that type of performance. It is similar to NIU in the sense that, like NIU ate the ball, they ran the ball, and they ate the ball, they ran the ball, and they controlled clock and they limited possessions. And then Notre Dame was bad offensively. I think obviously Navy's a better, much better version of NIU is offensively. So that's the concern. I don't have concerns about laying an egg per se. The offense can get stagnant. It can, and against a team like Navy, that can kill you. It just can. That's my concern. It's not like laying an egg or coming up with a bad performance. Like, this isn't that kind of Navy team. They're good. You just have to be ready to for the fact that the offense might stagnate, and that's not good. CFB Hurt says, is Notre Dame highly confident after yesterday? It was a fine game, but I don't know that Notre Dame came out feeling like world beaters. They didn't, and they should absolutely have their antennas up to this. They should be ready. They should not be overlooking anybody. So to CFB Hurt's point, you should not be overlooking Navy. You should not be overlooking. Like if anything, it would be like Florida State, or it would be like it would be Virginia or something like that. Like Florida State is the one where it's like, hey, you way overlooked the team. It can't be Navy. If it is Navy, like if Notre Dame goes out and gets like blown out, like if it's like 35-10 or something like that, then that's a big problem. James says Notre Dame cannot afford to overlook anyone. Yeah, like this idea that Notre Dame would be overlooking teams is just kind of like, who do you think you are that you would overlook anyone? And I don't want to get all mad about it because they haven't done it, but like, how can you do that? You lost NIU. You need to make the playoffs. Like, you have to be urgent. This idea that Notre Dame could overlook any team is just kind of crazy to me. CFB Hurt says Notre Dame might be able to overlook FSU. FSU is really bad, shockingly bad. Like Notre Dame, like 4-8, like okay, USC, and the way that they're bad is like they're losing close, but they're still they were in the lead for most of yesterday's game. And they came back and they gave it up at the end. Excuse me, I got some water. They gave it up at the end, but like they're still kind of good, right? Florida State, they're just awful. I mean, Notre Dame's 4-8. That was bad. You're losing leads in the fourth quarter over and over again. That's not good. Florida State's just awful football team. Notre Dame might be able to overlook them. James says Bama Vandy for sure. Vandy's good, though. That's the other thing. Vandy's a good team in terms of just like, they're as good as Georgia Tech is. They're as good as Virginia is. They're as good as, I don't want to say they're as good as Louisville. They're probably better like overall than Louisville is, although like Louisville's passing game is like really, they put up 45 on Miami yesterday throwing the ball. I mean, look, Notre Dame beats Louisville by 7. And so does Miami, but Miami scores the 52-45. People are more impressed with the 52 than the 24 that Notre Dame gave up. So, Michael Hahn says FSU reminds me of the 3-9 Notre Dame team. It's actually, that's actually not a bad. It's not a bad comparison. Not good. Not a good football team over there. I mean, look, obviously, like DJU wasn't this bad. He was never this bad. Not at Clemson. He was like 10-1 at one point at Clemson, right? They had a good team yesterday at Oregon State. It just completely fell apart. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for Mike Norvell. Remember when Alabama wanted to hire Mike Norvell? And then he didn't. He stayed. It was dumb. Michael Hahn says the 4-8 team in 2016 would have beaten the 07 team by 3 touchdowns. More than that. That 07 team was really, really not good. Really bad. Really bad. M Sleep says, I took the over 43.5 total on his parlay. I appreciate the quarterback taking that ass whooping for the last touchdown. What? So what? He got 38 points. Oh my goodness. And then the touchdown, the 6 points. Oh my gosh. 44. Congrats to you, M Sleep. That's good stuff. Wow. You were cheering so loudly at the end there. Notre Dame put in the backups too. Oh, you had to have been doing cartwheels. Amazing. Jacob Paulus says Norvell is a Jordan Travis offensive coach. Yeah, we said it. We said it a bunch. Without Jordan Travis, Mike Norvell's never been good without Jordan Travis ever. By the way. Speaking of which, it hasn't been good. Michigan. What are they? 4-3 now? Is that what they are? I mean, the record pre-cheating and then the record post-cheating. Monitoring, right? Her CFB Hurts 4-3. They're bad. They're a bad team. They're bad at football. Pre-cheating, bad. Post-cheating, bad. Cheating, good. I mean, what do you want me to say? What do you want to say? You know, people talk about evidence. You know, it just is what it is. CFB Hurts with the LOL. Yeah. Gave up 80 yards passing to Illinois and lost by 14. And then they got, I saw that Will Johnson got hurt, their corner, the Ben Morrison of their team. He got hurt. And so that it said lower leg injury. The fact that it was on the ticker for ESPN, the fact that they showed it scrolling across the screen makes me feel like there was something serious. I haven't seen it, but it just seemed like, yeah, it just seemed like something serious. So they're dealing with some stuff. Greg Wasserman says, who would have thought stealing signals would have a difference? Yeah, totally. Totally. Let's have another Netflix. Let's have some more apologizing. Let's have some more apologizing from the from the media to apologize. Oh, talk about how it doesn't matter and this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, you know, they were awful before, awful after, and then world beaters during. Let's talk about that. Unbelievable. Just the washing of the stealing of signals. Terrible. All right, we can end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whenever it is, we're going to go live. Jamie and I will be back on Thursday, as always, talking about Navy, talking about this game, the rewatch notes, all those other things. Check out my Twitter feed for some at Greg2126 for some, you know, some plays, some clips, some interesting things from the game. Jacob Paulus says, love this show. I love that. Drew Mentalk on Irish Illustrated posted a story that Notre Dame's decreased from 50. It's different. That's a different metric. We'll monitor. All right. That's everyone. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.